This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. A win is a win. Did the Browns steal this one? Absolutely. The Browns absolutely stole this one. But does that matter? I don't think so. I don't think that matters as much as what people want it to matter. Again, how you get to these records in the NFL, there's a high level of variance. There are a lot of good teams that get to great records in ways that don't feel great, right? Like the Kansas City Chiefs are a 5-1 team that nobody's talking about as a 5-1 team because how they got there, it wasn't the most impressive thing in the world. But at the end of the day, they're 5-1. And when it comes to playoff seeding, they're probably going to have that one seed because they started off 5-1. They were able to get through some rough moments with the offense, win those games, come out victorious, and fix their problems in victory. See, while people are caught up in how the win happened and if the win happened how you want it to, or if the Browns stole one or whatever it is, we're forgetting that stuff don't really matter as much. What matters is that you won. What matters is that you put yourself in a good position going forward. What matters is that if you have things to fix, you can fix them in victory. Are there things to fix? Oh, yes. Hell yes. Absolutely. I don't think either coach on either side of the ball had a good day. Shane Steichen got the better of Jim Schwartz. This is the first time it's happened all season, so he gets a pass, but let's not lie about what happened. 38 points on this defense. Shane Steichen got the better of you. Browns didn't tackle great. That didn't help anything either, but Shane Steichen got the better of this offense. Whether it be big plays, whether it be shortcuts down the field, they got the better of you. And Shane Steichen got the better of Jim Schwartz. Respect is where respect is due. Shane Steichen did his thing. Kevin Stefanski, not a great game. Not a great game I thought it was a decent game from a play calling perspective. Did they get a little bit overcomplicated at the goal line? I would disagree with that take. I've seen it out there from people I respect. I would disagree with that take because I also think we're underestimating how much can go wrong when you're trying to rush a playoff. And I would rather, and I don't think it's a bad ideal, and I'll defend it. I would rather, in that situation, you take 3 chances through the air to get that 1 yard because you know that if it's not a touchdown, it's going to be incomplete and you get the whole play clock to reset. The clock stops. You're not in a rush, right? And you get those 3 chances without rushing. The issue I have with if they ran a sneak and didn't get it, is that you would have to rush back to the line of scrimmage and so much can go wrong. You can get a false start, get a 10-second runoff, game over. You could rush to start a play, somebody's out of position, they hold 10 yards and a 10-second runoff, game's over. I would rather, when you're at the 1 yard line, take your 3 shots, make sure you don't intercept the ball, be safe, be smart at quarterback, but take your 3 shots at the end zone. If you get it, great. If you don't, you can get the 1 yard on the play where you run it at the end when it doesn't matter because you ain't got no more plays left, right? On 4th down, if it comes down to it, you always have that run in your back pocket. I have absolutely no problems with that. I understand why people would be critical of it, especially while watching it, but I just think it's a undercalculation. It's a miscalculation of how much can go wrong if you try to hurry up and get a playoff with a backup quarterback, right? That I think so much can go wrong. You can get a false start, 10-second runoff in that situation. You could lose the game. So I am all for how the Browns handled that. I am all for how Kevin handled that. I know it took you to the edge of your seat, but they got the touchdown. So I think that play calling sequence, that was fine. Now, the 3rd and 1 play call that I think 4th and 1 play call that everybody was up in arms about when he did the toss. If he completes that toss, it's a fine play call. It's not my favorite play call in the world, but like I can understand why you would do it. I think a bad play call in that situation would have been running it up the middle because you haven't had success stopping them up the middle. They've been penetrating up all day in that A gap. So if you would have ran it up the middle, you would have just killed whatever running backs there. You wouldn't have had a chance. I thought the only two options there were to throw it or to toss it. They tossed it. Jerome Ford doesn't catch it. It's a disaster. And people can look back in hindsight and say it was terrible, but I can live with that. I'm fine with that decision there. I will stand on that, and I will stand for those specific reasons that I did. I think you need to go outside or do some level of deception, attack the middle of the field with the passing attack with David Njoku. I thought that was an option. Felt like they didn't go through it enough. But play calling wise, I don't have a problem with what Kevin did. I don't really have an issue. My issue with Kevin Stefanski this week was the approach to the game. I thought it was a very bad approach. And what I mean by this is the play calling is what happens within the play sheet. And from the context of whatever was within that play sheet, given what they were trying to do all game, I thought the play calling was fine. My issue was the play sheet. So the Browns came into this game in a lot of 13 personnel, 3 tight ends. The Browns tried to play a lot of heavy fronts. So they were trying to run the ball on a very good Indianapolis Colts defensive line. Look, first play, one of the first few plays of the game, you get lucky because you run a inside zone run and gun, and it breaks off for 69 yards and Jerome Ford scores, and that's all great. But I think they fell in love with the run after that, and I don't think it was very successful. I think what you were getting a lot of the times was a 2-yard gain on first down, a 1-yard loss on second down, and then 3rd and 9. And my issue with that is you give the passing game no ability to catch a rhythm when you do it like that, because now they're either throwing out of play action or they're throwing empty cold without throwing at all in that set. And you're just going to get a bad throw 9 times out of 10. Like if you want a recipe to cook up 3 and outs, that's a recipe to do it. The Browns run game is not good enough to consistently get to 3rd and 5, 3rd and short. So you can't run the ball on the first 2 downs. You got to throw it. And I think the offense had so much more success once they got away from running the ball on second down. And I think they had more success running the ball out of those outside from the gun than they did like from the under center. I just did not love how much under center we were doing versus this Colts team. I thought it put the passing game in a bad situation. I thought it put the run game in a bad situation. Just did not love that approach. Did not love how much 13 personnel we had out there. Did not love how they went about this game. And look, if that was because they wanted to protect Watson as much as possible and didn't want him to take a hit, then at that point, you just don't need to play him. So I don't think that was the case. I think that was the legit, like that's how they felt like they could attack this Colts defense. And I think that was a flawed strategy. I think a lot of the best ways to attack this Colts defense, it's been showed, is to attack their secondary and get in the middle of the field and use guys like David Njoku and Elijah Moore to kind of attack that. They were going to bracket Amari Cooper. You weren't going to get a big game out of Amari Cooper after last week. They were going to bracket him. They did a great job of bracketing him. They play a lot of zone. It's easy to bracket in zone. They did a great job. So they took him away. That's cool. You can still hit David Njoku. You can still take some of the stuff underneath. And I felt like they just did not do a good job of taking it. And I felt like they were trying to hit these big plays and get them out their front and force them out of certain stuff. And it just didn't work. And they should have adjusted much earlier than they did. Now, they did adjust eventually in the game, but I feel like that initial thing was that was a loss for the Browns offensive game planning. That's on Kevin. That's on AVP. That's on everybody that puts that play sheet together. That's on everybody who decided what personnels we were going to run majority of this week. It just was not a good game plan. I thought it was a terrible game plan. But they got away with it because of some individual efforts from Myles Garrett and Dustin Hopkins. Again, play calling, thought that was fine, given the circumstances. But the overall game plan, I did not love it. And I did not love the game plan from the defensive side. They were playing some zone in some areas, but they weren't tackling well or communicating enough in it. So clearly it wasn't put in and installed correctly. And then like they did some man, but they really went away from their man concepts this week to go into zone where they're not as good. I thought it was a miscalculation by Jim Schwartz. I thought he did too much to adjust to this Shane Steichen thing. He was too worried about some of the zone motion and everything else. So he wanted to avoid that. He didn't want another Baltimore situation, but trying to avoid that, he created another Baltimore situation. I thought he got outcoached by Shane Steichen too. So I thought that those were 2 bad approaches. But here's the thing. It's not all about the coaching. sometimes you get great individual efforts that are greater and more impactful than coaching can ever be. Myles Garrett is an example of that. Denzel Ward is an example of that. Hey, if you're not going to play well, if the game plan's not great, okay, whatever, be it, fine, be it. But make plays. Okay, we're going to give up 38 points, but we got turnovers. That's good defense at the end of the day. It's not great defense, but it's good defense at the end of the day. And I think that's important. You got a great individual effort from Denzel Ward, who went out for a concussion. I hope he's fine. I hope it's not a concussion, because he's had way too many concussions in his early career. And like, you start to really get concerned at this point when you hear he might have gone out with a concussion. So I really hope it's not that. But he went out with a concussion or a head injury. Let me be clear, not a concussion, but a head injury. They didn't specify. That's not great, but Denzel Ward made plays. He got that great interception, just took the ball. An amazing play there. I think there was another interception in this game. I can't remember who got it. It might have been Denzel Ward as well. But good stuff. Great individual effort. Way to get the turnovers. Myles Garrett was a beast. Pat McAfee said in his tweets, watching Myles Garrett play in person is incredible. Might be the best human ever constructed. I can't speak to how incredible this dude is. Again, people want to compare him to whoever. I don't care. He's the best defensive player in football. He was responsible for a 20 points in point differential. Here's exactly what I mean by that. He blocks a field goal. So he stops 3 points for the Colts potentially, and then blocks the field goal. So the Browns get great field position, get 3 points because of the field position. So that's 6 points for Myles Garrett right there. He gets a strip sack in the end zone that results in a Browns touchdown. It's 7 more points. So now we're at 13 points for Myles Garrett. And then he got another strip sack, I believe, that resulted in a field goal, another field goal. So, I mean, we're talking about a massive point differential for Myles Garrett. Like at least 16 points. I think it got to 20. My math might be funky on that. But Myles Garrett was the difference in this game. If you don't have Myles Garrett, you lose this game by double digits. Another guy who had a great individual effort, Dustin Hopkins. I don't even want to think about how many field goals he made, but he made at least 2 or 3 50-plus yard field goals in this game. Each one as important as the next one. And he just crushed it. Career long, crushed it. He had a 58-yarder in this game. Like, as he kicked, I was like, goodness gracious, we're axing way too much out of him. Way too much out of him. Like, way too much out of him. But he kept coming through. You got bad games from Martin Emerson. You got a bad game from Greg Newsome. You got a horrible game from Juan Thornhill. I don't think you got the greatest game from JOK either. Got bad games from those guys. It's okay. Still got Myles. You still got Denzel. You still got Dustin Hopkins. Now we need somebody on the offense to show up like that. All kind of confusion on what Deshaun Watson's status is going to be for next week. I will clarify what I've heard be kind of misconstrued throughout the media. Kevin Stefanski spoke after the press conference, at the press conference, and said, hey, Watson is still the starter. If he is healthy, he will start against Seattle. He did not say Watson is healthy, he's going to start against Seattle. He said Watson is the starter. If he is healthy, he will start against Seattle. If he clears through all the medical hurdles and he can practice and we'll figure out all that stuff by Wednesday, he'll probably play or he won't. But it's all up to that. They got to see. Now, what happened with Watson in this game? My theory, and again, this is my theory. My theory is this. Watson took that hit. He was on the ground and he could not tell you definitively whether he was hurt or not, right? He's not sure. Kevin heard that and said, nope, not going to risk him tearing his shoulder, not going to risk him going out for the rest of the year. We're going to not play him anymore, and PJ's in. Kevin didn't, and he clarified this in the post-game presser. He did not want to risk his franchise quarterback, and he wasn't going to put his franchise quarterback in a position to get hurt for what he feared would be the rest of the year by playing through an injury or playing potentially through an injury that could be worse. And since they cannot do an MRI on the sidelines, I don't know if that technology exists, but they cannot do that. What they're going to do is wait to get the MRI, make sure that it's not like a bigger tear or that it retore or whatever it is. And, they're going to make sure he's not hurt. And whatever happens with the rest of the week happens, but you're not going to risk him needing surgery by having him play through that game. And if that all works out, it's a great decision. If it doesn't, then it's still a good enough decision. I'm fine with it. I'm absolutely fine with it. People will look bad in retrospect, but he's hurt and Deshaun Watson's hurt. And if they are worried about that injury getting worse, the second they feel like they are worried about that, they need to pull him out the game. They did that. It tells you the difference that they feel about him and somebody like Baker Mayfield, where Baker had all this stuff lingering. They let him play. Clearly, they feel differently about Deshaun Watson, and they're treating it as such. So Kevin is taking care of his quarterback. It's hard to fault him for that. If he feels like there can be more damage done, or if he's not sure if there could be more damage done, he's going to err on the side of caution. This might be nothing. He might clear through everything on Wednesday, practice, play, and he plays great against Seattle, and this is a thing of the past. That could happen. Or he could be out for the next couple of weeks. We won't know till Wednesday what track we're on. We won't know. The bottom line is that the Browns played a tough game on the road against a good football team, a 500 football team coming into this on the road, and won. They won through adverse circumstances. And I point this out on the live stream. I'll point it out again. You can cry all you want about this win not feeling great. And I understand why you would feel that way. But what we do need to understand is that the good teams figure out how to win these games. Right? We all talk about a team not knowing how to win. We talked about that with the Browns for years. Oh, they just don't know how to win. They can't win these close games. Then we finally get a team that knows how to win, and we complain about it. This is a team that, quote unquote, knows how to win. When other Browns teams have been in this situation and lost, we said to ourselves, man, I just want to be a team that figures it out. This team figured it out. Now that they figured it out, you can't cry about it. We always applaud Pittsburgh for finding ways to win this game. We always applaud other franchises, Baltimore, for finding ways to win games in this situation. But when the Browns do it, we don't give ourselves that same credit that we give our rivals. Why is that? I understand that this wasn't going to be a victory done in this fashion. It's going to make you think that the Browns are going to streak to the Super Bowl. But guess what, man? No one victory is going to make you streak to the Super Bowl except for the AFC Championship game. So until we get to that, we got to take these wins and losses as they are. That's it. That's it. That's what people mean when they say a win's a win. Not saying that everything bad is gone because a win's a win. No, I talked for 10 minutes straight in this video about all the things that went bad in this game and all the things that went wrong. But you can't dwell on that. That's loser stuff. You got to figure it out, come in, play better next week, and do what you got to do. Look, it just same way the Browns played amazing the week before and bad this week defensively, it's the same way that they could play amazing next week. They had a bad game. They were due for an off game. That's really what it was on defense. Bad game plan, bad game from your secondary. You got cooked. You know what I mean? It could happen any given Sunday. You got cooked. It was bound to happen. We had averages that were crazy, even for NFL historic stuff, 200 yards given up in a game on average is crazy. That was going to go up. You were going to have some regression to somewhat of a mean at some point. And I thought it would be this game. I said that earlier this week. Well, hey, I expect the defense to have an off game. Weird thing is that the defense had an off game and a good game at the same time. Offensively, we're all tired of watching it be like this, but the hope is that you could get healthy at quarterback and it won't be like this. But a lot of people are running out of patience. I understand. But the good thing is that you have more patience to spend. This team's 4-2. So no need to run out of patience. They're 4-2. You can have patience. If they were 2-4, hey man, ain't no patience for that bullshit. But 4-2, there's a lot of patience. We got the patience to spend. We might as well spend it. Be patient. And I know people are gonna be like, I've been patient for 20. That don't matter. We talking about 2023, big dog. I don't care how many years you've been waiting. I've been waiting a long time too. Okay, you're not the only one. Everybody been waiting. But in 2023, big dog, we 4-2. We got room to be patient. We just gonna have to be patient with this offense. If it comes together late, they hit their stride in the playoffs, cool. But a win's a win. It's a big win. AFC win, tiebreaker win. It's a big one. You needed this one. You're 4-2. You play your next 2 games against NFC opponents. Those are less important. You would love to win them, but those games are less important. And they're both winnable. So you're in a good position. It wasn't pretty, but don't let that cloud you up. Because the same way they could win ugly this week is the same way they can win pretty next week. It's the NFL. Shit changes week to week. You can't just say, hey, we played like this week, so we're going to play like that for the rest of the year. No, sometimes you have good games, sometimes you have bad games, and then you have your average games. This was a bad game for both sides of the ball. And you've had a lot of bad games on the offensive side, so that's a concern. But this was the first bad game from the defensive side of the ball. And the defense still found ways to make plays to win the game. Plus in the turnover margin. Hey, I'll take it. So that is what it was. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have a good night.